The rumor mill absolutely exploded across the league grapevine. And if you listen closely, you can almost hear the echo of disbelief coming from fans and insiders alike, because the Raiders are suddenly being linked to a surprise reinforcement involving Jordan Love, while at the same time quietly moving on from a veteran presence that many assumed was untouchable. This kind of move does not usually leak unless something serious is brewing behind closed doors. And the way the whispers are spreading makes it feel like one of those moments where a franchise is trying to reinvent its own identity overnight. The talk is not being framed as a clean, finished deal, but more like a daring chess move being considered by a front office that believes shock value can reset expectations. People around the league are speculating that the Raiders see something in Jordan Love that could change the entire trajectory of their offense, whether through direct involvement, strategic leverage, or a ripple effect that forces defenses to rethink how they prepare. At the same time, the cutting of a veteran sends a loud message, one that says sentimentality is being pushed aside in favor of upside, flexibility, and raw belief in potential. This is the kind of story that feels bigger than a simple transaction, because it hints at philosophical change, at confidence bordering on audacity, and at an organization willing to absorb criticism now for the promise of something greater later. What makes this rumor even more fascinating is how little concrete information is actually out there, which only fuels the imagination of fans and commentators who live for this kind of speculative drama. The Raiders have always thrived in chaos, or at least have never been afraid of it, and the idea that they might be aligning themselves in some way with Jordan Love fits perfectly into that narrative. Love represents promise, patience, and the idea that development can sometimes matter more than instant gratification. By contrast, the veteran being cut symbolizes the past, stability, and a known ceiling, which can be comforting but also limiting. The whispers suggest that this was not a move made lightly, but rather one debated intensely, with voices in the room arguing about timelines, locker room reactions, and fan perception. Some believe the Raiders are gambling on the idea that Love's presence, whether as a focal point or a catalyst, could unlock a more modern, unpredictable offensive approach. Others think this is about sending a message internally, telling the roster that no role is guaranteed and that adaptability is the new currency. Either way, the tension between potential and experience is at the heart of this story. As the narrative grows, more speculative layers are being added, especially regarding how Jordan Love would actually fit into the Raiders' plans if this rumor turns into reality. The conversation is not just about talent, but about mindset, coaching compatibility, and timing. Love has long been viewed as a quarterback with tools that need the right environment to flourish, and the Raiders might believe they can offer exactly that environment, or at least something close enough to take the risk. Cutting a veteran in this context becomes symbolic, almost ritualistic, as if the organization is clearing space not just on the roster, but in the collective mindset of the team. People are wondering if this signals a shift toward a longer-term vision, one that prioritizes growth and experimentation over clinging to familiar faces. The idea of Love wearing silver and black, or even being connected to the Raiders' future plans in a more indirect way, feels surreal to many, which is precisely why the rumor has such power. Surreal stories travel faster, stick longer, and invite endless debate. There is also a strong undercurrent of skepticism, because fans have seen bold promises before, only to watch them fade into disappointment. Cutting a veteran is easy to justify on paper, but can fracture a locker room if not handled carefully. The speculation suggests that the Raiders' leadership is confident they can manage that fallout, perhaps because they believe the upside of this move is worth the emotional cost. Jordan Love, in this rumor-driven narrative, becomes more than a player. He becomes a symbol of trust in development and belief in unseen ceilings. Some insiders are hinting that the Raiders are tired of being predictable, tired of incremental changes, and ready to embrace a storyline that forces the league to pay attention. Whether this is brilliant foresight or reckless ambition is still up for debate, and that uncertainty is exactly what keeps people talking. Every new whisper adds fuel. Every denial feels suspicious, and every silence from the organization only amplifies the sense that something unconventional is unfolding. Another angle that keeps surfacing is the financial and strategic flexibility this rumored move could create. Letting go of a veteran often frees resources, both in terms of money and leadership hierarchy, and that freedom could be redirected in creative ways. The Raiders might be positioning themselves to pivot quickly, adapting to circumstances that outsiders cannot yet see. Jordan Love's name being attached to this scenario suggests that the franchise is thinking beyond immediate wins and losses, focusing instead on narrative momentum and long-term relevance. This is the kind of thinking that aligns with a brand-conscious organization, one that understands how storylines can shape perception and even influence player morale. Fans are split between excitement and fear, with some celebrating the courage to change and others mourning the loss of familiarity. The truth likely sits somewhere in the middle, but rumors rarely care about balance. They thrive on extremes, and this one is no different, painting the Raiders as either visionaries or gamblers with too much confidence. At the end of this first wave of speculation, what stands out most is how intentional everything feels, even if nothing has been officially confirmed. The Raiders cutting a veteran while being linked to Jordan Love is not just a roster move in the minds of those watching closely. It is a statement of intent, or at least the appearance of one. This story feels like the opening chapter of something larger, a setup that invites anticipation and anxiety in equal measure. Fans are refreshing feeds, analysts are reading between lines, and the silence from official channels only makes the rumor louder. Whether this ultimately leads to a transformative partnership or fizzles into another what-if tale, the emotional impact is already real. The Raiders have, intentionally or not, captured attention, and in the modern sports landscape, that alone can be a powerful currency. As the rumor continues to breathe and evolve, the second wave of speculation dives deeper into the psychological and cultural impact this potential move could have on the Raiders organization. Bringing Jordan Love into the conversation, even hypothetically, challenges existing hierarchies and forces everyone involved to reevaluate assumptions about leadership and patience. The cutting of a veteran is rarely just about performance. It often reflects a desire to reset expectations and redefine what the team stands for. In this speculative scenario, the Raiders appear willing to embrace uncertainty, betting that the discomfort of change will eventually give way to a more dynamic identity. Jordan Love's perceived calm demeanor and developmental arc contrast sharply with the certainty that veterans usually provide, and that contrast is fueling debates about what kind of team the Raiders want to be. Are they chasing immediate validation, or are they investing in a story that unfolds over time, one that rewards faith and resilience? The rumors suggest the latter, and that alone marks a significant departure from more conservative approaches seen in the past. Another fascinating element is how this potential shift could influence the fan base, which has always been deeply emotional and fiercely loyal. Fans tend to form strong attachments to veterans, seeing them as embodiments of shared struggle and perseverance. Cutting such a figure can feel like a betrayal, unless the organization successfully reframes the narrative as a necessary sacrifice for future greatness. Jordan Love's name being floated offers that reframing opportunity because he represents hope without baggage, a blank canvas onto which fans can project their aspirations. The speculation paints a picture of the Raiders attempting to guide their audience through a controlled emotional transition from nostalgia to anticipation. This is risky because if the promise does not materialize, the backlash can be severe. Yet the very fact that this rumor has gained traction suggests that many fans are at least open to the idea of change, even if they are not fully convinced. The emotional tension between loyalty and curiosity is palpable. From a purely football-centric perspective, analysts are speculating about how Jordan Love's skill set could theoretically mesh with the Raiders' offensive philosophy. Love is often described as a quarterback who thrives when given freedom to improvise, balanced by a system that encourages learning through repetition. The Raiders might see this as an opportunity to evolve their playbook, leaning into unpredictability and adaptability rather than rigid structure. Cutting a veteran in this context could be interpreted as removing a limiting factor, someone whose presence might unconsciously anchor the offense to old habits. This speculative framework suggests a coaching staff eager to experiment, to push boundaries, and to accept short-term growing pains in exchange for long-term innovation. Whether this vision is realistic or overly optimistic remains unclear, but the rumor itself is powerful enough to reshape conversations around the team's direction. It invites fans to imagine a Raiders offense that looks and feels different, even if the exact details remain fuzzy. There's also talk about how this rumored move could impact the broader league perception of the Raiders. For years, the franchise has oscillated between being seen as dangerous and being dismissed as inconsistent. Aligning themselves with a figure like Jordan Love, even in speculation, signals ambition and a willingness to think outside traditional boxes. Cutting a veteran reinforces that image, portraying the organization as decisive and forward-looking. Other teams are likely watching closely, not necessarily because they fear immediate consequences, but because they are curious about the precedent being set. If the Raiders succeed in reinventing themselves through bold, unconventional choices, it could encourage others to follow suit. If they fail, it becomes a cautionary tale about the dangers of chasing potential at the expense of proven reliability. This duality is what makes the rumor so compelling. It carries both promise and peril in equal measure. As more voices weigh in, the narrative is becoming less about whether the move will happen and more about what it represents. Jordan Love has become a symbol in this story, a shorthand for patience, belief, and calculated risk. The veteran being cut represents the opposite, a known quantity sacrificed in the name of possibility. This contrast resonates deeply in a sport that constantly balances tradition with innovation. The Raiders, intentionally or not, have placed themselves at the center of that philosophical debate. Fans and analysts alike are projecting their own values onto the situation, interpreting it through lenses shaped by past successes and failures. The rumor thrives on this ambiguity because it allows everyone to find a version of the story that aligns with their hopes or fears. In the end, whether this speculation solidifies into reality or fades into memory, its impact is already significant. The Raiders have sparked conversation, challenged assumptions, and reminded everyone that bold ideas still have the power to captivate. Jordan Love's name will continue to hover over these discussions, representing a fork in the road that the franchise may or may not take. The cutting of a veteran, real or rumored, underscores the emotional cost of ambition, a cost that teams must be willing to pay if they want to escape mediocrity. This story feels unfinished, deliberately so, inviting fans to stay engaged, to argue, to hope, and to worry all at once. And in the world of sports storytelling, that lingering uncertainty is often the most powerful ending of all. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Las Vegas Raiders. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The speculation does not slow down, and if anything, it becomes more layered as people start to connect dots that may not even exist, which is exactly how rumors gain strength in the sports world. With Jordan Love's name still echoing around the Raiders, some voices are now suggesting that this could be part of a broader reset that goes beyond a single position or a single cut. The idea floating around is that the organization might be intentionally creating uncertainty to shake complacency from every corner of the locker room. Cutting a veteran in this environment is seen not just as a football decision, but as a psychological trigger, a way of telling everyone that the past no longer guarantees safety. Jordan Love, in this speculative narrative, becomes the embodiment of a new era defined by competition and accountability. The Raiders have always leaned into a rebellious image, and this rumor fits that identity almost too perfectly, which is why it feels believable to so many. Fans are dissecting every interview, every body language cue, searching for hidden meaning. Silence from the front office is interpreted as confirmation, while vague statements are treated like coded messages. This atmosphere of suspicion and excitement creates its own momentum, one that can be difficult for an organization to control once it starts rolling. Another layer of the rumor focuses on leadership dynamics and how a move like this could subtly redefine who holds influence within the team. Veterans often serve as extensions of the coaching staff on the field, reinforcing established norms and expectations. Removing one of those figures, especially in conjunction with whispers about Jordan Love, suggests a deliberate effort to decentralize authority and encourage organic leadership to emerge. In this imagined scenario, younger players are empowered to step up, knowing that tenure alone no longer secures a role. Jordan Love's presence, even as a hypothetical, symbolizes openness to growth and learning rather than rigid hierarchy. This can be energizing, but it can also create friction, which is why opinions are so divided. Some believe the Raiders are courageously embracing evolution, while others fear they are underestimating the stabilizing value of experience. The rumor feeds on this divide because it mirrors a broader debate within the sport itself about how much weight should be given to potential versus proof. The Raiders, willingly or not, are positioned as a case study in that ongoing conversation. As the story stretches on, it starts to feel less like a simple rumor and more like a test of faith between the Raiders and their supporters. By allowing Jordan Love's name to circulate alongside news of a veteran being cut, the organization appears to be inviting fans into a vision of the future that is intentionally undefined. This ambiguity can be frustrating, but it can also be inspiring because it leaves room for imagination. Supporters begin to picture different outcomes, some triumphant, others disastrous, and in doing so, they emotionally invest long before anything is official. That emotional investment is powerful because it binds people to the journey regardless of the destination. The Raiders have always thrived on passion, both positive and negative, and this rumor taps directly into that energy. Whether it ultimately leads to validation or regret, it reinforces the idea that the franchise is unwilling to fade quietly into predictability. In a league obsessed with certainty and control, embracing speculation itself becomes a statement, and right now, that statement is loud enough to keep everyone watching closely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Las Vegas Raiders, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.